This week, we're deciding what the best Nintendo Switch game is of all time. Join us as we put every Switch game head to head in the ultimate tier bracket on this week's HGO podcast. Hey, how's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the season 6 finale of the HGO podcast. One of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Hunter. Hey, Hunter, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
I just want to make it clear to every video listener watching right now, I have not turned to the dark side. I am not a headphone Andy. It is just I have been playing too many video games, Hunter, and I have the biggest headphone dent of all time. And I'm too self-conscious for the video game head dent at this point in my life, Hunter. I don't know what it is, but I don't think there's anything worse. I don't think there's anything worse than just looking at your side profile and just seeing the dent of your hair. There's nothing worse about it. How you doing, bud? You doing all right?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great.
It feels...
Nice little concert last night. It was
You've been thriving.
lovely.
Yeah, you've been thriving. I've literally have been doing nothing but sitting at my desk editing new things for HGO. Actually, that's a lie. I've been trying to get into running recently because I don't know, quarter life crisis, you know, those kind of things where it's just like my friend's getting married in a couple of months, and I'm like, I can't look fat in these photos. And I know I'm not fat, but you know what I mean. And because it's like, this is the first time where it's like, oh, these photos will be photos that I have to look at for the rest of my life. You know, it's like 60 years old or whatever. You know, people will look back, reminisce. Remember when he got married and you look at those photos, you just see yourself, you're like, bleh. I'm like, no, can't do it to myself. So I've started running, and today was the first day where I did like a full 20-minute, like no breaks run. And if you know, I'm like, small victories, I'm feeling good. But also at the same time, why am I getting to the peak of my like health at like age 28? I feel like, you know, good years behind
It's
me,
better to
Hunter.
do it before
Wasted.
it's on all accounts from everything I've heard, it's 30 when the bones just quit working. So you better get in while you can.
18 months, gotta run for it, mate. Literally running away from aging. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, 30 years old is when you get your first nerf, and it's like, my gosh, I better get ahead of that real quick.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
yeah,
I am not the kind of lad who can just go run because I played soccer when I was younger, and I guess gamifying it helped, but running was not the part of that was appealing to me.
you know, it's to me, it's almost like a mental de-stress. It's the fact that there's nothing to it other than running that is like, that's the thing for me. It's just like I like not because I like just being outside, not having to worry about anything. It's like when I get back, that's when, you know, I've got crap that I need to deal with. It's just, you know, it's the process of
Yeah.
going out there. I'm feeling better because I actually have enough stamina now that I can run for 20 minutes without actually feeling like I want to die. And I'm like, you know, it's small steps. It's good. And then I come back home and I play Overwatch for 2 hours. So, you know, it's like no one's perfect, Hunter. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do what we can. Welcome in, everybody. It's the season finale of season 6 of the HGO podcast. We have been doing this for 6 years in a week. That's crazy. How are you feeling about that, Hunter?
Speaking of
Past your
quarter
time.
life crises.
This show is definitely past a quarter of its life, Hunter. I can tell you that for a fact. But thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us, whether it's your first week here or hey, you've been here for way longer. That's cool. We appreciate you. There are a couple of changes coming to not just the show, but the way we're doing stuff starting next week. We might mention it near the end of the podcast, but you're not here for that. You're here to talk about Nintendo games. A bit of inside baseball here, Hunter. You know, we're kind of rounding the season off with an episode that should have been, you know, this is an episode that should have been in this season long ago, but I accidentally deleted the files, so it never happened. So we're redoing it. We're making sure it's in the canon. It's in the ancient texts.
Yeah, because we recorded this the first time over a year ago. It would have been, I think, to have as like a backup in case, you know, one of us fell ill or something, or both.
It was over a year
Kind of
ago,
like
but it was
what would have been
made.
real nice to have over that Christmas recording.
Yeah, a little bit. It was we did it about a year ago, but it was made with the intention of being in this season, because we was like, we'll have this as a backup for season 6, so if anything goes wrong, like if one of us goes ill or whatever have you, we have a backup just in case. And we were gonna try and be savvy and have a backup whenever we need it, just in case we need something to go out. And I was an idiot, and when it came to clearing out all of the season 5 files, I just hard deleted that one, because only the main like proper finished edits get archived, so it's just lost to the ether. It's one of 2 missing episodes. The other one's missing on purpose. That one was accidental.
You'll never find it.
You'll never find it, and it's not because there's anything bad in it. It's just because it was bad.
There's nothing bad in it. It's just bad.
It would be embarrassing even for this podcast to release that episode. That puts it in perspective. This is coming from the guys that did where episode like 3 was Persona 5 and Final Fantasy 7, and episode 4 was let's just do that same topic again.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the days. 6 years ago. I was actually young. That was fun. Anyway, Nintendo Switch tier bracket. What are we doing, Hunter? What are we doing?
Yeah, so the whole idea is, the Switch's life was coming to an end. It is at its... I think we finally hit the final death knell of anything going forward is just considered a Switch 2 game that might also function on the other one.
It's like, you've got Tomodachi Life, you've got Rhythm Heaven, but those are kind of the assumptions of that's probably it from Nintendo from a first party kind of. I'm sure there'll be another Kirby shop exclusive, okay? I'm sure there'll be something like that in the near future. But for the most part, all of the big hitters have, left the building at this point. You assume the next Monolith game will be Switch 2 exclusive. You assume, the next Fire Emblem Switch 2, Mario, Zelda, etc. They're all be Switch 2 going forward. So why not put all of Nintendo's best exclusives from the Nintendo Switch era against each other? We're just going to have them fight each other in a bracket. It's not a tier list. I'm sorry, tier list fans. We'll bring them back in season 7. But
they will return.
They will return, dude. They are the MCU of the HGO podcast. You cannot get rid of them.
You might think.
There will be, that is very true. I didn't think about that. That's spoiling. That's spoilers. But I think we're doing a bracket. Let us know if you like this. If you prefer a tier list, also let us know, because then we'll know, okay, brackets aren't fun. We prefer
I
tier
think
lists
this is
in
a
this
decent
household.
way to spin up the format to, cover something we might have talked about in a slightly different way.
Yeah. So I'm going to, with the power of magic and video editing, I'm now going to switch on over. Oh, perfect. It worked. It's funny, Hunter, because the amount of times in season 6 where this hasn't worked has been way higher it's a higher batting average than like the rest of the seasons combined, I think. The amount of times that we've gone to a different screen and we've had to cut because I'm stupid and I keep forgetting to add Hunter's audio to different scenes. It's, I'm getting old, mate. It's the memory loss. So as you can see, we have got a plethora of video games here, Hunter. Do you want to read them down the list for audio listeners that we're going to be talking about here? Because we could only pick so many.
Yeah. All right, I'll just go down left side first here. We've got Mario Party Superstars versus Super Mario Wonder. We've got Fire Emblem 3 Houses versus Mario Odyssey. We've got ARMS versus
You've got a different
Luigi's...
list to me. What have you done? Yeah.
What?
You've got a different list to me. Oh no! Technical difficulties have hit us again.
Hold on.
The heck? I've got
I think I might have scrambled the seating a couple of times before I sent you the link. So let me just press reset and see what I get.
I mean, we can scramble it if you want. We can scramble it. I don't mind scrambling it. We can scramble it if you want.
Now the problem there becomes, how do we get the same result on our screens?
Season 6 is doomed. We write this one off. We see you next week. This is it.
Does yours start with Smash Brothers versus Xenoblade 3?
Yes, that's what mine starts with.
Okay. Just edit the rest of that out, I guess.
I'm not editing anything, mate. I'm not editing anything. I want everybody to know how tragic that we don't care about season finales here. Do you think we're gonna put more effort in? Go for it.
Okay.
What have we got?
Take 2. We've got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate versus Xenoblade 3. We've got Animal Crossing New Horizons versus Xenoblade 2. Super Mario Wonder versus ARMS. Metroid Dread versus Mario Party Superstars.
Yes.
Over onto the right side of the bracket, we've got Luigi's Mansion 3 versus Tears of the Kingdom.
Please contain please contain your excitement. Please contain your
Pokemon
excitement.
Legends Arceus versus Metroid Prime 4. Splatoon. I can't tell if that's
3. It's Splatoon 3.
Splatoon 3 versus Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And Mario Odyssey versus Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
I think it's really funny because you've got a lot of these where you're like, oh, that's tough. It's very tough. Then you've got like a handful of these that are very much, Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb.
Like, you know what I mean? Audibly laugh as I was reading them. Yeah.
I don't know what you're on about, mate. I don't know what you're on about. So yeah, I'm so glad that we now are looking at the exact same list. That's why ladies and gentlemen, if you learn a lesson, it's put a little bit more prep in than the HGO podcast, and don't hit shuffle after sending a link.
I hit shuffle before I sent it is the annoying thing.
Well, I guess the shuffle only works for you, I guess. Oh well, we just get default Derek answers here, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you want to start, Hunter? I don't mind.
Well,
you can.
I think it's probably best to just go top down on the left here.
Okay, if you want to be a normie and go by the rules, I'm fine with that.
Listen, people are wired to read left to right for a reason.
Not if you are Japanese. Got him. Anyway, yeah, sure. It's fine, we can go with Super Smash Bros. Versus Xenoblade 3. This is going to be an interesting discussion, isn't it? To me, this is hard because I'm not the biggest Smash Bros. Fan. So it's like, to me, Smash Bros. Is cool because I consume Smash Bros. From a very casual, fan perspective, where I think it's really cool watching these trailers, seeing these characters. I think it's really funny, getting a group of friends together and just having a laugh. But I've never been one to grind Smash or get better at Smash or, consider it for more than a party game, if that makes sense. Or it's more of it's a fun thing, it's just a fun time with friends. But, I think there's a lot to like about Smash. I think it's incredibly impressive, the amount of characters that this game has. I still think, looking at it, 8 years later, feel old yet. Well, 7 and a bit. I'm cheating a tiny bit. But, it's like the amount of characters they managed to cram in and the amount of representation from so many different franchises. Whether it's, your obvious 16 Fire Emblem characters and your 22 Mario characters. But then you also have, long-awaited kind of iconic reveals of franchises that you've wanted in Smash Bros. For decades. You have Dragon Quest finally having representation. You have Banjo-Kazooie finally having representation. You have Terry, another fighting game legend after Smash for Wii U already added, Ryu. You then have, Fatal Frame. What's it called? What's the Fatal? I can't speak. What's Terry's franchise called? Fatal Fury. I nearly said Fatal Frame because I've got that remake on my mind that came out last week. Fatal Fury. You have, Minecraft got representation. You have
Kingdom Hearts.
Just Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, nearly forgot Sora was there. Square Enix confirmed that Final Fantasy VII is the only one they care about. There's so much that happened. There's a lot to love about Smash Ultimate.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing about Smash Ultimate for me is that the time in my life where Smash was my thing is over. I would say.
I agree.
I have a lot of fond memories of being younger in the summertime, playing Melee and Brawl with my friend while we were hanging out a lot. And, Ultimate I played enough when it came out and would check out the new fighters when they dropped. But also, like, there used to be a point in my life where I was definitively better than the rest of my family at these games, and I don't think I got it like that anymore. I
No,
think
that's
that
fair.
I might get a lucky victory in the first 2 rounds of play with my siblings, and then it'd be anybody's game probably.
I feel like, yeah, it's like I have vivid memories. Obviously, I was not a Nintendo person when I was a kid. I had the Nintendo handhelds, but I never had the consoles. So it's like my first kind of, other than playing a bit of Smash 64 on an emulator, my main kind of experience with Smash was my first experience was Smash 4, and then going into Ultimate. But it's like, Smash 4, it's like I have memories in 2015 playing with family members, playing with friends, playing Smash, having a great time. And now I sit there and I go, I was playing with my cousins or whatever. I'm like, now one of them's got like 2 kids, and that kid is probably getting to the age now where if and when the next Smash Bros comes out, he's gonna be like 7, 8 years old, right? It's like that's his game. It's like I feel like now all I'm excited for about the next Smash is, I can't wait to see what they do and see the reveals, and I'll still buy it, and but I'm never gonna have that time with Smash that like I did with 4 and with the start of Ultimate, really. So I kind of
Yeah.
agree with that. I also think from a fighting game perspective, it's fantastic. From like a single player perspective, I still think that Smash Bros is kind of lacking. Especially
Yeah,
when you
with the
compare it
world
to
of
like
light
modern
there,
equivalents.
it's
Yeah.
well, I don't know. It's not the most lacking that anything could ever be. I feel like there have been some games that are just real bare bones on if you want to play this game by yourself, then too bad. Especially compared to other, if you want to categorize it with other fighting games, they're real bad about that. Like, World of Light is something to do. It's not very
Mm-hmm.
good, but it's something to do. And I liked that the classic mode was kind of themed around something with the characters this time. That was neat, since
Yeah.
a lot of times, in like from like Brawl onwards, it felt like it was just kind of random
Mm-hmm.
stuff
No,
thrown
totally.
together until you fight Master Hand. I liked that this one was themed, but yeah, I do feel like the single player stuff does still fall out of my attention pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like, I think that this game is crammed full of stuff. I don't know if all of it is necessarily worth your time, but it's there if you want to partake in it. Um, but yeah, it's a great game. I look back on it, relatively fondly. I think it's always tough because Ultimate was obviously very obviously based on the back of Smash 4, In a lot of
Yeah,
ways it almost feels there's a lot of content and they did a lot on it, right? But from a gameplay perspective, it often still feels a bit Smash 4.5 if they,
yeah,
almost the Overwatch 2 to Overwatch, where it's like, we've made some refinements to the way the game works and stuff like that, but it's still the same engine. It still has that kind of Smash 4ish kind of feeling to it, whether you
yeah.
like it or
Like,
not.
the taking the other games, like the difference from Melee to Brawl or 64 to Melee and so on. Like, there's a different smell to them almost, for lack
Yeah.
of a better descriptor there. Whereas with Ultimate and Smash 4, the differences are mostly, oh, Link looks like he did in Breath of the Wild, so it must be Ultimate.
Yeah. And there's almost a part of me that's like, like they'll do a couple of those changes, like, Link looks like Breath of the Wild, there's a new Zelda model and stuff like that. But then for every one of those, you also still have, 90% of the
Ganondorf is
roster,
still Ocarina of Time for some reason.
90% of the roster still plays like they did in Smash 4, but with a
Yeah.
couple of tweaks and a couple of bits and pieces. I still think the game's pretty fantastic. The main reason that I'm trying to bring these slight negatives into the picture, Hunter, is because I still happily sit by this. I still think that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of the best JRPGs ever made. Like, it's one of those things where I sit there and I go, that
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
Monolith's best game. Just might be. Like, and
Best
never
one from
never
them
sleep on
I've
them.
played.
Yeah. I just
Out of
I
my
don't know.
grand sample size of 3, but you know.
Yeah, true. I'm sure there'll be some Xeno Saga fans and Xenogears fans that are looking at me and going, "Don't you dare blaspheme about it being the best game." But I think, gosh, the Switch is a fantastic system. It really is. The fact that you can have games like Smash Ultimate, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem Three Houses, all these games we're going to talk about. And it's just like, it's very rare for me, especially, you talk about Switch to me anyway, it was the first the first generation of consoles that I had like as an adult, right? It was like, it came out when I was, 19 years old. And it was, through my late teens, early 20s, that this was my console, right? And it's like, when you've been around the block a lot, Hunter, you start to get to that feeling where it's like, played this. This game's great, but I've played like 6 million of these. I've played 5 million open world games. I've played 5 million. Xenoblade 3 was a game where I sat there, and it was one of the rare games. There's a couple more on this list that we'll talk about later, but it was just like, I just got so addicted to it, where I was just like putting off the main story just to go for a walk and do some stuff. And it's like, it's very rare in a video game that I go and do that. And it's just the world of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Ionios as a world, and just the characters and everything about it. It's just so damn good. I hate it. Like, it's fantastic. I love it to pieces.
Yeah, Xenoblade 3 is really good. It's certainly my favorite of the three of them.
It's my favorite as well.
Yeah. I really like the existentialism of the story. Mm-hmm. The combat finally doesn't feel like you're bathed in molasses while you try to play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all makes
it's one of the best looking games on Switch.
Yeah, the character designs are all real solid in their own right. The
performances.
Well. Yeah. All of that. Very good. It's
one of the few JRPGs, not to paint every game in a genre with the same brush. It's one of the few JRPGs that actually keeps its story at the same level of quality throughout. It's very common for JRPGs to have a really good premise and have a really good first act, and then kind of ride the wave down to kind of mediocrity. And it's like, this game manages to just keep, bar a little bit of a fetch quest at the end, there's like very little points of downtime when it comes to narrative, because they just keep building on these threads, but they keep it. It's almost like the antithesis of like, a lot of modern Western games where it's like, we need to keep building on these mysteries. And I'm like, are you going to answer any of these mysteries? It's like, nah, mate, we're not going to do anything with them. We're just going to,
ask.
We're just going to keep asking questions, and we're not going to answer any of them. Whereas Xenoblade 3 genuinely does just keep answering, and then Future Redeemed as well as an expansion to it. My God, what an expansion. Monolith Soft keeps making a second game and going, yeah, we'll just charge you half the price for it. I'm like, yeah, fine by me. Keep doing that. I'm happy with that. It's all good for me. The music as well. My God, what a soundtrack.
Oh, those flutes, man.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best JRPGs it's definitely in my top 3 JRPGs I've ever played. And as someone who's played quite a few JRPGs over the past like 6 or 7 years, it still stands up to me. I think it's fantastic. What are we thinking, Hunter? What are we thinking?
I feel like Xenoblade 3 moved on.
I agree with that. I agree. Click the button. Watch the dislikes soar. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're near 600. Can you get us to that? That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah. If you're a Xenoblade fan, rise up. If you're not, sit down and move on to Animal Crossing New Horizons versus Xenoblade 2. I promise you, they won't all be that heavy a discussion, because that was like I say, that was putting 2 titans back to back, whereas some of these are a little easier. Hunter, you've played one of these, haven't you?
I have played Xenoblade 2. I have not played Animal Crossing. It is not my thing.
Don't worry, I've played plenty of Animal Crossing to have an opinion for 2 people. My opinion of Animal Crossing New Horizons is that it is fine. It is pretty good. It's a good time. I think, when it came out at a brilliant time. It was, it helped get a lot of people through a pandemic. Um, Animal Crossing is always charming. Animal Crossing is always fun. I think in the pantheon of Animal Crossing games, it kind of falls a little bit short. I think the problem is with it, Hunter, is Animal Crossing New Leaf is almost the perfect Animal Crossing game. All they kind of had to do was make New Leaf again, but in HD on an island, and they just took so much away from New Leaf, and then either added it later in post-launch content or just decided, nah, we're not going to bother. That, I don't know, it almost feels half-baked, and the fact that we waited 7 years for it, I mean, we're going to be waiting 7 years at least for the next one. That's how crazy time is, dude. I remember thinking New Leaf to New Horizons was a long period of time. My God, we're going to go way past that for the next one.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I think the problem with it is everything kind of feels a bit sanitized. Everything just kind of feels a bit simple. The charm of the villagers. You don't kind of have the bitchy villagers anymore. You don't have like the bite to the dialogue. It's kind of been sanitized a little bit.
Everyone's too nice situations.
Yeah, everyone's got Insomniac Games writing a bit where it's just like, can somebody please be a bit nasty, please? Even Tom Nook, it's like there's not even a little bit of bite to him either. But yeah, I like Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's a good game. There's nothing, particularly bad about it. It's just, as an Animal Crossing fan, it slightly disappointed me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially if you thought that, the last one would be built upon instead of the eventual end point of the next one.
Yeah.
I can see how that'd be disappointing.
I think it's just it's good for what it is. It's pretty good. And I think, you also got to look at it from a 2026 lens where it's like, okay, it's had the big Happy Home Paradise expansion. It's had that new update. They just did the 3.0 update, which I might as well call the why did we bother update, because Pokopia came out 3 months later, and that is just the Animal Crossing for Switch 2 now. No one's going to play Animal Crossing. But I just sit there and I go, it's good, it's fine, it's more Animal Crossing. But when I look at it and I compare it to New Leaf or even the older entries, when I think of the first Animal Crossing or Wild World, I'd put it pretty low, if I'm honest with you, in terms of like my personal opinion of it. But there's nostalgia there. Like Wild World is very nostalgic to me, and so is New Leaf, where it's like in my head I'd go New Leaf, then Wild World, then probably New Horizons, then the other two underneath of it. But you could put the first Animal Crossing above New Horizons just because it was the original, and it's like it did so much. Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough one. I like it. It's good. Bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Now as for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, talk about a mixed bag of a video game.
Yeah.
I love this game. I also am 100% aware, and I'm not blind to the numerous problems with it. I'll let you kick off, Hunter. I've spoken enough.
Oh yeah. So I also like Xenoblade 2 quite a bit. I thought it was pretty good when I played it back in I think the end of 20.
We're both of the opinion that the ranking of these games is reverse order, right? I think we're both of the opinion that we like 3 the most, then 2, then 1, which is a wild opinion apparently in the Xenoblade community. But seethe.
Yeah.
I feed off of your hatred of me.
The big positive that I think is still present in 2 that I enjoy is I think Malos and Jin are a great villainous duo. I think they're
the villains of Xenoblade 2 are better than the villains of Xenoblade 3. That's 100%.
Without
I agree
question.
With that. Without question. I think here's the thing, and I almost hope, when you sit there with the Switch 2, it's like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is my biggest wish for a Switch 2 edition. And, I'm feeling like it probably will get a Switch 2 edition at some point. It's the best-selling Xenoblade game. It probably will at some point. Let's be real here. But just because, well, we can get to the game's problems from a narrative, from its acting, and from stuff like that. But one of the things that I think is a real shame about this game is just how terribly it runs and still does to this day. It's, it's a very crunchy game. I don't know if you ever tried playing it in a handheld hunter. You can't see the video game. It's at like 240p. It's a very crunchy game. It doesn't run particularly well. In docked, it's also not particularly flattering. And then the other criticism you have, obviously, is the Marmite performances, Some people love them, some people hate them. I think everybody's in agreement that the performances get better over time. The worst you'll experience is in the early game, and then, they, for the most part, get more into their roles by the time you get to the end of the game. I wasn't sitting there at the end still, there were a couple of moments where you laugh, but other than that, for the most part, I was like, okay, Sky Bennett and all that was doing a pretty decent job by the end of it. It felt like why they decided to record the whole game in chronological order, I have no clue. That was a choice from the localization team, I guess. But the performances are a bit sketchy. Some of the character designs, I feel like, some people will sit there and, they'll argue about censorship and all that jazz, and, it's what the artist wanted, and my response to that is, it's a bad fucking want.
Yeah. Xenoblade 2 is one of the few times that my sister has watched me play a game and been like, why she look like that?
It's one of the very few times. It's one of the very few games to this day that I was playing. When this game came out in 2017, it was Christmas or whatever when I was playing it. So family was home and stuff like that. It's one of the very few games where whenever I was playing it and someone came into the room, I pressed the home button. I just was like, nope, no one is watching this, because my goodness, they'll either laugh at the dialogue or they'll just kind of think that I'm some kind of deviant. But there's a lot to love about Xenoblade 2. I think that, again, the world is brilliant. I love the music. I find a lot of the characters endearing. Zeke is an incredible character.
Zeke is amazing. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Morag is also a brilliant character. I like her quite a lot. I think they do quite a good chunk of stuff to do with Nier as well. I like Rex. I'm one of the few people that likes Rex. Pyra and Mithra, I think, are pretty good supporting, kind of protagonists as well, secondary protagonists. There's a lot of kind of depth to that character that I'm like, you don't necessarily expect it as you go. When you start the game, you don't necessarily expect it. And again, Torn of the Golden Country, the DLC that they did, it might be the best part of the video game. It might genuinely be the best part of the video game. It's fantastic. You can't complain with Monolith Soft when it comes to value. If you buy a video game, you're gonna get a heck of a video game out of it, you can't complain. This feels very weeby to then, though, have Xenoblade 2 versus Xenoblade 3 Hunter, but I feel like this is the way it has to be.
It is the way it has to be.
I'm sorry, Animal Crossing fans. I'm usually with you. Hey, let's hope Animal Crossing Switch 2 is just New Leaf, but cool. Am I right? Bring back the island, dude. I missed the 9 p.m. bug catching on the island. Does anyone remember that? Probably not, because we're all in the old folks' home at this point. But it was a good time, Hunter. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Mario Wonder vs. Arms.
Yeah.
I'll let you start.
So this is another situation where I've only played one of these and never got around to Arms, but Mario Wonder is the first 2D Mario game in a very long time that I've actually cared enough to take a shot at obtaining and playing, and I think it's easily the best 2D Mario game to come out since I have been alive.
I think that's a fair assumption to make. I think anybody under the age of 30 can make that claim, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say so. Because, the new Super Mario Brothers all felt very samey and quite sterile by the time that it got to the Wii U. And Mario Wonder finally threw in a little bit of razzle-dazzle to all of that with the Wonder Flowers and the cool different ways that you can, or the cool different things that they'd introduce via the Wonder Flowers for each of the levels, I thought was engaging.
Yeah, it was, it kind of having a gimmick every level. And, some of them would be, absolutely game changing. Others would just be, a little bit of, a visual aesthetic or, a fun chase near the end of the level or something like that. It just added to that variety that I think the new Super Mario Bros. Games were missing, because it didn't matter really what they did in New Soup. It didn't matter how many, what region you were in. Everything just kind of felt the same. You were going through the same
Yeah.
motions throughout the entirety of the game. Yeah, Wonder. I have a review up of Wonder on the website if you want to check it out. I gave it a 5 out of 5, I believe, and I still stand by that. I think it's a fantastic game. As someone who's not a fan of 2D Mario, it's a game that I think is very good, and I think it was almost, to me, I think the biggest comparison I can give to it, and I want to stress that I don't think it's as good as Rayman Legends, but it felt like a kind of Rayman Legends moment where it's like it was just kind of magic. It was a joy to play, and a lot of the time, 2D platformers can be a bit hit and miss. There are very few where I genuinely sit there and think, "Wow, that was a joy to play." And Mario Wonder is one of them. It's there with like Rayman Legends, Celeste, um Anton Blast and ways like there's very few 2D
Yeah.
platformers where I actually sit there and go, wow, I had a really good time. Even with games that are beloved, like the amount of times I've tried to start Pizza Tower and I play it for like 3 or 4 hours and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. But then I also sit there and it just doesn't click with me. Like I'm just like, oh, the way this game plays, I know it's a good game. I know people love it. I know it's great. I think it's great, but it just doesn't click with me. Mario Wonder's one of those few where I'm like, yeah, it clicked. I 100%ed it, and I very rarely
Mhm.
100% a 2D platformer. So
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. Arms is also pretty good. It's not as good as Mario Wonder, so I'll alleviate that out of the way right now. We can say that Mario Wonder is definitely the one. I'll click the button and everything. Um, but Arms is great. I wish Nintendo did more of it. To be honest, it was a really fun kind of proof of concept. I think it's the kind of game Switch 2 really was missing at launch, where it was a real showcase. Because Drag X Drive was definitely not that showcase.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think we would have been better served. It was if we had an arms too, or something to
I
that
think they would have been
effect,
better off having an Arms 2, if I'm honest with you. And then
Yeah.
if anything, a Drag X Drive kind of mode in an Arms 2 would have made a lot more sense than just releasing Drag X Drive just out on on its own. But Arms is fantastic. It plays really well. I think, the character designs are interesting. The arenas that you play in are a lot of fun. Being able to customize the arms that you have so they have different abilities, like a freeze block or a boomerang, so it kind of curves around. There's a lot of fun to be had with it. It just, I guess it's the one that got away. It's just it did extremely well. It sold millions of copies. It's just, it seems to be the forgotten game of 2017, if that makes sense. Nintendo released a lot of
Yeah,
games in
yeah.
2017. Arm seems to be just the one that got away.
It's funny too because like it did well or whatever. I guess that because just a couple years before Splatoon was their like big new IP that popped off in a way that they weren't I guess they weren't as keen on pushing a second new thing that popped off to a lesser extent certainly, but
Especially when you release
uh,
Splatoon 2 like 2 months after Arms. You don't really give it that
yeah.
much breathing room. Yeah. But it's still good. I'd still, if you find a cheap secondhand copy or something like that, you can definitely get a couple of hours of fun out of it. Um, but yeah. Again, okay, we're on our first like coffin baby hydrogen bomb kind of Metro Dread versus Mario Party.
Yeah, yeah, here it
Uh,
is.
all right, well, let's just click Metroid Dread, and then you can talk about how much you love Metroid Dread.
Oh, Metroid Dread is a good one, man. I think that it's still my favorite of the bunch as I've went and tried a few more of the 2D Metroids. Even putting the Prime games that I've played up against it, it's still my favorite. But
Mm.
uh, it's just a really solid, tightly made game. Like I love the way that it ratchets up in the last few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think it's paced really well by the time that you're in those final sections, and then the final battle itself is really just one of my favorite final bosses in a game in a long time, I would say. Manages to do
Yeah.
that thing where it tests your knowledge of your kit without being like, ho ho ho, here's the part where you gotta remember the Spolingo, you know?
Yeah, Metroid Dread was my first 2D Metroid that I've ever played, and I played this in one day. Like I just played it. Like I just, it was a Sunday or whatever, and I just played it for like 8 hours on a Sunday, and I was just like, yeah, this is a very good video game. I think, you know, it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is something that a lot of modern Metroidvanias don't seem to get the message on. I feel like every, Metroidvania that releases in the year of our Lord 2026 feels like it needs to be a Silk Song in a way, where it's like it
Yeah, they're
must
all
be
chasing
30
the
hours
Hollow Knight
long.
instead of the Metroid of it all.
And so, as someone who's not a huge fan of Metroidvanias or finds it very hard to get into them, to have one that was so succinct and well crafted was, a breath of fresh air. I really did appreciate it. Um, I think that, Mercury Steam, after, doing the Metroid 2 remake, then going on to this, it's just like they were firing on all cylinders. I don't know why Nintendo never commissioned them to do another one, if I'm honest with you,
Yeah,
because it just kind of felt like a bit of a slam dunk. But
I don't
Nintendo
know.
and Metroid, always as complicated as it has to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't hop on that right away. Like, at the rate that Prime 4 was taken, we could have had a second 2D Metroid before.
Genuinely.
Uh, but what can you do?
Mario Party's Mario Party. You know,
Yeah,
Superstars is pretty good. I had
it's the
enough
best
fun with
one
it.
on the Switch, I would say.
Yeah, because Jamboree just has way too many random fucking things that just aggravate me about it, and every turn takes 16 years to go
It
through, and
takes
you just sit
12
there.
years to do anything, whether it be the turn itself. The mini games all have 3 rounds for no reason. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
playing this game is what caused my first gray hair.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, Mario Party's Mario Party. That's the thing is, Mario Party's good, Mario Party's fun, but also Mario Party is an N64 game that they, have been making for 20 years. And I don't know, it's fun enough. There's a part of me that's like, I really wish for Mario Party, like, if they do like a Superstars kind of thing where they would just make like this just really good Mario Party that's like the best of the best of all Mario Party, and just actually like it felt substantial. Even a good Mario Party game, you sit there and you go, really? In 2021, we're really only doing 5 boards and
It's
6 characters,
so
and
weird to me that there was never like more added to it.
yeah, it just they always feel a bit barren on content a little bit, and like compared to
Like
other
like even Mario
games.
Golf got post-launch updates that added characters and courses.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't play as Ninja at launch of Mario Golf.
But yeah, it's a weird one. But hey, it's pretty good. You should still check it out if you. I definitely recommend Superstars over Jamboree, especially the Switch 2 version of Jamboree, because my god, that's a bit of a hit and miss
Yeah.
um, bag there. Oh, speaking of coughing baby, dude, Luigi's Mansion 3 versus Tears of the Kingdom. Let me click the box right now, bro. Do we need to
uh,
even talk? Guigi every day, baby.
oh yeah, that. Oh man.
Luigi's Mansion 3 is a video game that I have tried playing 3 times and I still haven't got to the end of it. I finished Luigi's Mansion 2 in before I finished Luigi's Mansion 3. It's fine. It's good. It's one of the best looking games on Switch. It might be the best looking game on Switch. That game is gorgeous. Um, it's good. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a good time, You're in a hotel, every floor is a different kind of theme to it. So you'll have like you'll have like a movie set on one floor, and you'll have like, you know, like the kind of swimming area on another, and it's like there's a lot of good things about Luigi's Mansion 3. The main kind of problem with Luigi's Mansion 3 is, one, I think Luigi is just not a good mechanic. Being like, oh yeah, do you want a second like in co-op? It's pretty fun because you have a second. You know, you can play with another person. For a single player game to be like, yeah, you have to swap to this other character all the time and walk them around to solve puzzles. It's just not very intuitive.
Yeah, doing stuff like
And
that in single player is always one of those, like, you'll press a button that you don't mean to, and suddenly you've accidentally tripped off the face of the earth or something.
totally. And I think the other problem with Luigi's Mansion is just Luigi's Mansion 3 is the third time that, you know, we've been around. And it's like it's the best looking, it's probably the best Luigi's Mansion, but also I think they're running out of things to do with Luigi's Mansion, where it's like
It seems like one of those things where uh nothing actually pushed the idea forward. It's
no.
just kind of
It's just a
adding
very good
more.
Luigi's Mansion game, but I've already played a Luigi's
It's
Mansion
like
game.
it's like if Luigi's Mansion was a cake, 2 was icing, and 3 is just more icing.
Yeah, it's still good. I can still recommend it, but it's just I wanted a little bit more from it, if I'm honest with you. You can talk about Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, Tears of the Kingdom, what a game.
Is that all we need
Yeah.
to, is that all that needs to be said? Okay, cool.
I mean, we'll
It's
have
good.
ample opportunity to talk about it at some point. We don't have to beat the horse on all of these in the first
I can already
appearance
see
every
where, yeah,
time.
we're going to have a conversation about Tears of the Kingdom pretty frequently, so I'm happy to leave the Tears of the Kingdom talk for now to say that, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom's very good. It's better than Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah.
So speaking of another coughing baby situation, dude, Pokemon Legends Arceus versus Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. This is interesting because we've got a new game in the mix. I don't remember
Yeah.
when we redid this when we did this the last time in the last episode.
It
I don't
would have
remember what
been
game was in here.
Bayonetta 3.
Oh, good. So we would have had the same conversation anyway. Pokemon Legends Arceus would go forward anyway. Unfortunately for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, the only good, you know, the only innovative Pokemon game from the Nintendo Switch era has shown up and taken its rightful place here, you know?
Yeah, it may have been able to skate by the other two.
It definitely would have been able to skate with Brilliant Diamond, launch Scarlet and Violet, probably. But yeah, I think Pokemon Legends Arceus. What a game, dude! What a game. It still is. It's the best Nintendo Switch Pokemon game. It's not even close. It mogs ZA. Like anybody that sits there and thinks that ZA is better, literally needs to look in the mirror and go, "Why do I have terrible opinions about video games?" Well, yes, it has a very, ZA has a fun battle system. I don't agree with that. I don't disagree with that. But how you can sit there and go, "Oh yes, this battle system is pretty good," and you know why the game is better? Because I get to walk around a car park and do nothing but stare at grey walls all day and do the same battle system 5 times in a row, and it's just like ZA wishes it could have like an ounce of the magic that Legends Arceus has, because Legends Arceus looks terrible, runs terrible, and I could not tell you a single ounce of the story, Hunter, but the exploration and the music and the gameplay are that bloody good. I don't care about the rest of it. Like, I just sit there and I remember, like, I have this vivid memory of playing the game for the first time, and it's similar to Pokopia. It's that similar kind of magic, but I think Legends Arceus actually does this a tiny bit better, where I'm just walking around, and, it's like, oh yeah, this is an old, you are in Sinnoh, but you're not. It's Hisui, right? It's, feudal Japan version of Sinnoh, right? And you're walking around and you don't recognize anything at all. And then you just start walking around, and then you start hearing like you get by a pool of water and you start hearing like, one of the themes of like one of the mystic Pokemon, like, a Zelf or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, this is where we are. And it's just the musical cues and the way that the world just kind of flows, and Jubilife, the village it starts off really small, and the theme is like really, it's just basically a piano riff. And as the city grows and grows, the orchestra just comes back, and it's just
Oh,
like
they keep adding instruments. That's great.
it's
I
got
love
like
when things
six
do that.
versions of the theme that just keeps amping and amping and amping until it feels basically like the jubilee. And you just sit there and you're like, man, they weren't kidding when everyone was saying, oh, they're doing a spin-off, and they're like, no, this is the first like mainline kind of, side entry in the franchise. And it feels like it feels substantial, it feels great, the game's that good, the background on the podcast has changed to it. That's how good this game is, Hunter. Fantastic. Now talk about the disappointment of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Hunter. Do it.
Oh, Metroid Prime 4. The last few hours of this game still really aggravate me, let me tell you.
That last boss fight makes me want to punch somebody, like, genuinely.
The last few hours of this game really let down what was otherwise a fairly solid experience. Like if they had kept up that level the whole way through, I still couldn't begrudge anyone that was disappointed after waiting for so long, but I think it would have been, a respectable entry all the same. But, just the way they set everything up. And it's a Metroid Prime 4 in all of the ways that you can imagine is a game out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it
Definitely
started development and reset development, and you can feel it in like every facet of its being.
It started development in 2017. It restarted development in 2020. Yet it still feels like a game from 2009. Congratulations, Retro Studios, you did it. It's like, you son of a bitches. I just sit there and I go, like, I finished Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, okay? So, that says something that I managed to finish it, okay? As someone who hasn't played any of the, like, I played half of Metroid Prime 1 when it came out, the remaster, and I've been meaning to get back to it at some point. I think there are parts of this game where I'm like, I don't see the hate. It's actually pretty good,
I think
the first main area is really good.
Solid.
I
think Area 3 especially was my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, totally, I can see it. But that second half is so dire. It's so unbelievably bad. Whoever at Retro decided, like, in I'm going to assume like 2021, did a replay of Crash 2 and heard Cortex go, the crystals, of course. And then decided, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a flipping fetch quest where you have to get nearly every single crystal off the map. And you just sit there, you're like, why am I doing this? Like, did they really think that this was a good idea just so they, did they think everyone's going to go, oh yeah, I want to do this for 2 hours. I'm going to post some screenshots of me Akira sliding on the motorbike in the desert on twitter.com.
The desert with nothing else in it.
With nothing in it. And, you have that... Yeah, you have that whole section where just don't get me started, where it's just corridors and you've got your little guys running next to you and they're like, save yourself, Samus, go on ahead without me. And you have to do that 5 times for like each of the bloody members as you climb down.
5 times and nothing actually happens to them until...
Yeah, and they all show up in the lift and like, what are you doing, mate? Get in the lift.
Yeah.
Up we go.
The best pal you get is the robot that you don't get until the last half hour of the game.
Yeah, totally. And that final boss fight is absolutely atrocious.
Just dog water.
Absolutely abysmal.
Companions shouldn't have been allowed
and the ending is abysmal as well. The ending is
such an out of character moment for Samus, and also like they really wanted me to care about something that I just couldn't.
It genuinely is a marvel. I think people will look back on Metroid Prime 4 with a kind of bewilderment on a game that shouldn't really exist and how it does. And, Metroid Prime 4 was a game that was too big to cancel. And I don't mean that from a size and scope point of view. I mean from the fact that Nintendo chucked that much money into it and that many years of dev that they could not justify canceling it. And it shows because... we've heard rumblings that, the bike and the desert sections and all that stuff was stuff that Nintendo just, from the first iteration of Beyond, that they kind of had, Retro was told that has to be used. That stuff has to go in. And it's like, it feels like two halves. I feel like you can tell, at least I can tell as a casual fan, I can tell which bits feel retro and which bits don't. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell which bits feel Metro Prime and which bits don't. And
Yeah, it was one of
unfortunately,
those situations where, like, coming into this year, even, I was sitting there, like, still halfway debating making a review for it, just because I was still sitting in my opinion of it for a while there. I think eventually I was like, oh, then I'd have to turn it back on and play some of it for the footage.
get some
And what's the
footage.
point?
Just scream into the void. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a real shame, to be honest. Can't say I didn't see this coming, though. I remember, like, can't remember, it might have been a year and a half ago. I don't remember when it was, but it was like something that I remember. I think it was when it was announced, when it was announced that it wasn't a day and date release for Switch 2, or it wasn't coming, like, when they did the Switch 2 reveal and they didn't even announce the date, they just showed like
Yeah.
5 seconds of footage. I think I remember an offhanded comment that I made on the podcast where I'm like, that doesn't scream confidence to me. That doesn't scream confidence. Turns out I was right. Anyway, congratulations, Pokemon Legends, Arceus. You may look like I don't know, like a fucking vision loss ad, but you're still pretty good. I appreciate you. Splatoon 3 and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'll just do the click now and click Breath of the Wild, and then we'll talk about Breath of the Wild later. We'll do a Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild comparison a bit later. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But yeah.
But to me, anyway, Splatoon 3 is interesting, where it's like, I think Splatoon 3 is fine. I still think Splatoon 1 is the best one. Like,
I agree.
I've played all three of these buggers as well.
I would think more of Splatoon 3 if they didn't make Splatoon 2. Because Splatoon 2 really should have been like Splatoon Deluxe or something,
And here's the fun thing about it is, I think the single player Splatoon 3 I think is really good. The story mode is probably the best story mode that Splatoon has ever done. I think it's, actually, no, I take it back. Octo Expansion is the best Splatoon campaign that's been done. But after that, Splatoon 3 is a close second. I think it's really interesting. It does a lot of stuff it does a lot of world building and a lot of story, actually, where I'm like, hey, that's cool that they're actually giving Splatoon a proper kind of myth and lore to it. I think that's, really interesting. In the first game, you'd pick up these relics and you'd hear about the destruction of Earth and stuff like that. But in Splatoon 3, not only do you still have all that stuff, but they're actually building like a narrative with all these characters and Grizzco and all that jazz, which I think is really fun and really, quirky, and I like that. I wish more Nintendo IPs would actually take a page out of that book, to be honest, because, there are a lot of times where I sit there and I'm like, you could, I like Mario games. You could give Mario a little bit more bite. Just a little bit. I'm not asking for the world here, but I'm asking for a little bit.
We don't need The Last of Us or anything. Just
a little bit. We don't need any
smidge.
listen M's, dude. We just want some interesting stories. But the multiplayer just did nothing. It's just Splatoon 2 again, which was Splatoon 1 again, and it's just, I'd even say it. It's like, I like Big Man and stuff like that, but even like the hub of Splatoon 3 and all that jazz, it's just like, I think Off the Hook and stuff like that, even Off the Hook I thought was a little bit better than Deep Cut. And there's little bits and pieces where I'm just like, if you had taken the best ideas out of Splatoon 2 and the best ideas out of Splatoon 3 and put them all together into a video game, then it would have been extremely like good. It would have felt like a true sequel to Splatoon 1, but you just kind of get these two. You kind of get Splatoon 1.5 and Splatoon 2, and by the time you get to Splatoon 2, because you've had the faffing about of 5 years of Splatoon 1.5, you just kind of feel like it was pointless.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't feel like
none of the jumps that they
leap.
realistically could have made from the first game feel impressive because of the stopgap. Splatoon 3, in my memory, is only really notable to me because I wrecked my car the day before I got it. So it's just one of those things that
What a trooper.
So I just kind of intrinsically link the two things together.
It's a bit like how it's probably how I feel You know, I probably think Deathloop is like a 6 out of 10 game, but because it's the game that I realize that I'm partially deaf in one ear, it automatically goes to like a 3 out of 10 worst gaming experiences in my life. You know what I mean?
You
Where it's
can't
just like,
hear the other half, so it doesn't get the points.
I can. It's just like 97% or something. It's even worse than that. But yeah, it's just like, you have one of those life events that just kind of, it impacts sometimes stuff that happens in your own life impacts the way you feel about a game just because stuff was happening at the time. There are plenty of games that I didn't like that are on paper pretty bad games, but they got me through a rough patch, so I like them a lot more. Say Sly 4 or opposite, I was in a really bad headspace when I played Nier Automata, so my points on Nier Automata were a couple of points down because that game was Depression City, and I was like, I don't need an extra dose of this. I'm fine as is. Like, my God.
Yeah, and I don't think my opinion of Splatoon was really changed or anything.
No, it was the car crash. If you hadn't gotten the car crash, guys, he would have given it a 9 out of 10. It would have been his favorite game of all time.
Yeah, but it's
would have
just
loved
how
Big
I
Man.
remember it now. I do love Big Man. He's my favorite thing about Splatoon 3.
He's the best thing about Splatoon 3, I'll give you that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fun for the little while that I messed around with it, but I wasn't nearly as enticed to go back as I was the first time. It's also a little bit of the Smash Brothers situation where like Splatoon 1 when it was new and fresh and all that was like I was still in it. I hadn't done that yet,
Yeah.
And by Splatoon 3 I had done this already.
It's why I'm slightly optimistic about Splatoon Raiders. I'm doing a spin-off, a more narrative focused spin-off. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, cool, let the multiplayer have some time to simmer, take a while to make your next Splatoon 4, like the next big Splatoon, take a while, I'm fine with this smaller kind of story adventure because the story's pretty good with Splatoon. I'm fine with that. Take your time. I don't want to see a new Splatoon game and like mainline Splatoon game until like 2028 at the earliest. Like give us some time, give us some breathing room. Let there be like 6 years between the Splatoon game. And yeah, see how it goes. And then finally in our first tier of hell, Mario Odyssey versus Fire Emblem Three Houses. Mario Odyssey's a good game, bro.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Pretty great. I think that probably my favorite way that Mario has moved around in general, I would say. I like the movement in this game a lot. I think most of the level designs anyway really complement that movement. Being able to steal the abilities from the creatures you possess.
Yeah,
they
the little
used in a way that was
capture.
Yeah, the way they used that was pretty intelligently done, I'd say. I don't remember any of that ever feeling super repetitive.
It's just, again, they managed to capture, pun intended, pure joy. It's just like going through these levels and having, they just put the fun first in that game where it's like, yeah, sure, you can capture the T-Rex and run around with him. Oh, yeah, sure, you can, do a whole party in New York City where it's there's 2D Donkey Kong running around and you're doing a little bit like that. Yeah, cool, you go on the moon. Yeah, we've got this whole world that's just brightly neon colors and it's all about food and you can turn into little fire blobs and launch yourself out of cannons. Yeah, why not, dude? Be a bird that woodpeckers into the walls and you like flick your Joy-Con or your controller up to launch them up. And I'm like, it's just pure joy. Right? And it's like,
yeah,
I think what Mario Odyssey does over DK Bonanza, for example, is every level just feels different. You always feel like, yes, you have the same objective of getting moons, but because it's just get X amount of moons and, be on your way, yeah, there's like a main little path you can go through, but you can completely just do all the optional moons and leave if you wanted to. It's just like, it just feels refreshing every, world. You just doing different stuff. There's so many different captures, whereas in a game like DK Bonanza, it felt a lot more linear. You have to get the bonanzas, you have to do this, and the gimmick was just punching
the way
stuff.
you do the things isn't changing.
Yeah, just punch. Whereas Mario was a lot of, hey, why don't you try becoming a frog so you can jump really high? Why don't you try doing this? And I'm like, it's that variety. It's what we last year we were giving Split Fiction a lot of praise for how every level you felt like you would, they'd take a mechanic, they'd do everything they could with it, and then they'd throw it away. And Mario Odyssey feels like that, right? It's like, yeah, we'll do everything that we can with that one mechanic, and then that's the only world we'll use it. We'll throw it away everywhere else. And I'm like, I love that. It keeps things really kind of fun. I, again, 100% of that game. It's brilliant. The only Mario game that I've fully committed to. I need to go and play the other 3D Marios properly. I've only dabbled with all of them. But yeah, I love Mario Odyssey. It's great. So is Fire Emblem, Three Houses. It's brilliant. Mario Odyssey is the better game. I'll click that. We'll do that. We'll get that out of the way. But I will give Three Houses its flowers. I think Three Houses is a very good video game. It was my first Fire Emblem. I think, Hunter, we've had this discussion before where a lot of the times the first game that you play in a franchise turns, a franchise like this where a lot of they're very similar, it often becomes your favorite because you just kind of get attached to it in that way. It's like Persona. A lot of the times everyone's favorite Persona game is the first Persona game you interact with. And they're all valid.
Final Fantasy.
Or Final Fantasy. But Three Houses was my first Fire Emblem game. And I really like this game. I really like it. Has that Persona kind of itch to it. That's the best way to put it. Itch is the best way. I was gonna, I won't make any other references, but yeah, it's got an itch to it where it's like it's got that day cycle where it's like, oh, do you want to go hang out with this person? Do you want to, you pick a side, pick a house. Okay, cool. So day to day, you're a teacher. Okay, I'm going to hang out with this person. I'm going to level this person up. I'm going to find out more about their story. Oh, I'm glad I picked the Black Eagles, but I really like that person from Golden Deer. Okay, let me befriend them and let me try and bring them over to my side so I can bring, people over.
Being allowed to poach from the other team is always a mechanic that tickles me about that. There's just
But the thing that I love about it is narratively it makes sense because you're in a school and it's just, the student's like, I just want to really be in that person's class. And it's like, okay, cool. And then, the game's split into like two halves. It's like Fire Emblem Three Houses is split into two halves. You've got like the first half, which is like the school life and all that stuff, and then you've got the stuff that happens after the fact. There's like a bit of a jump. You can only really poach people in that first half of the game, so it's not like
it seems like the inciting incident would prevent you from stealing. You can't go any that.
Yeah, but I think it's very good. I think the turn-based, the turn-based strategy, the combat, it's a bit simple. It's if you've played one of these games before, you might think the boards are a bit simplistic, or there might not be as much challenge as you would like to see. But if you're just there for a good time and you don't mind cranking the difficulty up if you feel like doing that, I think there's a lot to love about Fire Emblem Three Houses. I think it's great. I'd love to see a Switch 2 edition of that game as well, because why not? Fortune's Weave coming out, it's basically a spiritual successor to it. Hear me out. If it's going to be November, give Ethan a cheeky Three Houses Switch 2 port in like June. Why not? I'll play it again. You don't have to throw. I mean, I want to play it again anyway, but you can't threaten me with a good time. Right, that's round one done. Right. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, this round won't be as difficult. We've done a lot of talking apart from Zelda, so I think we can get through these pretty quickly. Xenoblade 3 versus Xenoblade 2, I think is a very easy conversation by the way we talked about it.
Yeah, we've already said that Xenoblade 3. We've given the rundown of the ranking for those already.
3, then 2, then 1. Yeah. I want to... How do I... Oh, gosh. I click you. It won't let me pick it. Hunter, it won't let me pick.
I don't know why. I was able to just click it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, 5th time's the charm. I got it. Everything that Xenoblade 2 does well, Xenoblade 3 does better. There's not a single kind of... Other than the villains, that's the only thing that I give it the...
There's the one thing that 2 has over 3. But I
and
feel
2 and 3 doesn't have Zeke. If 3 had Zeke, then, it'd be the greatest game ever made.
You're right. But the rest of 3's characters are almost as good as Zeke. So
it's true. But, also, I couldn't tell you if any of the Xenoblade 3 characters have a last name, but I know for a fact that it's Zeke von Genbu, dude, and that's just stuck in my head for the rest of time. But yeah, I think they're both fantastic games. I mean, if you have a Nintendo Switch and you haven't played the Xenoblade games, they're very much something you should play. If you've, got a Nintendo Switch too, like I say, I have a feeling that Monolith are just going to be the kind of people that are just going to. I feel like every couple of years you're going to get a Switch 2 edition of these games. I just feel like that's something that's going to happen. I feel like they're the new Wii U ports. You know what I mean, Hunter? Where it's just like you're going to get
that's
these
gonna
Switch 2
be
editions until the
the
end
way
of
that
time.
things fill out now.
But yeah, check them out if you haven't. Wonder versus Dread.
Well, I certainly lean on Metroid Dread being my preferred one here.
I tend to agree with you, I think.
Yeah, like Mario Wonder was a nice refresher for adding some variety to the 2D Mario space. But Metroid Dread, I think, is just so solidly constructed. A very good 7 hours.
It is. It's a very good 7 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extremely well crafted. So is Mario Wonder, but like I say, there are a lot of games. There's a lot of 2D platformers right now that are, as good as Mario. Like I'm thinking of Celeste, Anton Blast, Pizza Tower. There's a lot of very good 2D platformers. Whereas there's a lot of good Metroidvanias currently, but none of them that are under 8 hours because they're all trying to be Silksong and they're all trying to be 62 hours. I'm sitting there going,
yeah, that's the thing is there's a lot of
take a lesson.
All those games you just listed, I would wager I like more than Mario Wonder. Metroid Dread, I might like Hollow Knight more. I don't think I do, honestly, but hypothetically, if I did, they both go for such different things that it doesn't really matter.
Totally. But I think it's I think that's fine. I'm fine with Metroid Dread. Pokemon Legends EA versus Tears of the Kingdom. I think that it is Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think that's a shocker. We'll talk about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I'm sure, in a minute. Shall we just get this bit over the way? Breath of the Wild versus Mario Odyssey. I think we're both Breath of the Wild people.
2017 rematch.
I think we're both Breath of the Wild people, though, and that's
we sure are.
Cool. I'm more than happy to do that and go badoosh like that. Sorry, Mario Odyssey. I do love you. Which fight do you want first, Hunter? Do you want the Xenoblade 3 versus the Metroid Dread fight?
Xenoblade versus Metroid, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like to me, I'm a Xenoblade 3 girly, dude. That's just the way it is, We rise to the Xenoblade 3.
I think that's reasonable. Personally, I would go Dread over Xenoblade, I think, but it's also like Xenoblade is great, and I'd be hard pressed to argue that you'd be wrong. So I'm willing to acquiesce this one.
I mean, I think it's still important to give Metroid its dues because, like I say, it's a fantastic game. The only thing that gives Xenoblade 3 the edge to me is obviously one, I love the narrative and all of that jazz. I love Xenoblade 3 a lot. The only thing to me is I sit there and I think about, okay, what would I have liked to see differently from Xenoblade 3? And there's very little where I sit there, I'm like, okay, there's that fetch quest that takes like 25 minutes at the end of the game that I could, do without.
Yeah, you could do without that.
But that's, it's a footnote really. When it's like when I think about Dread and I think about, the robots that chase you, is it Emmys or whatever they're called?
The Emmys.
I sit there and I go, I wish more was done. I think the first time you encounter it, you're kind of like, oh, fucking run, But for the most part, they're all kind of dealt with in the exact same way, and there was almost a part of me that was just like, I wish there was a bit more bite to them a little bit. I kind of, in a way, I almost wish they were a bit more Resident Evil in design, where I get knocked down, but I get up again. You know what I mean? I almost kind of want
I almost want the same thing adapting to you instead of a bunch of them in a different zone. That would be cool. I see what you mean that way. You see, for me, the Emmys didn't get as stale as it might have for some people who were just upset that they were being harassed by them all the time because I got the parry timing down, and then I was just like, oh, it's on, let's go, anytime they caught me. But I can see what you mean. And then, even putting the Emmys aside, there was the one boss fight that I could have done without, where I think it was it was one of the last couple before the final battle, where it makes you do it's sending like the walls of energy or whatever at you, and you got a space jump in between it. I'm like, oh, this is smelly. I don't like this.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll give it Xenoblade 3 then. Although, one negative thing about Xenoblade 3. Let me think about it.
Well, we already talked about the stupid fetch quest.
True, fetch quest Andy. There are other bits as well. There are other little bits. I think
the one thread about their stupid friend that dies was a subplot that goes on for way too long, and I was.
It's also not a spoiler, by the way, because that literally the friend who dies is the history part of it, not the spoiler.
Yeah, it's part of the
backstory.
I'm not.
It's the backstory of the characters, not
What was his?
Someone
name?
has a friend that dies early on, and it impacts the story in a way.
Was that his name?
Yeah, Yorin.
Yeah. Everything about him went on for far too long and really annoying.
Yeah, there's also that other guy that's also a part of the similar thread that's just like, I'm Evil McGee and I'm evil for evil's sake. And I'm like, okay, fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? We already know what my feelings are of characters who are just bad for bad sake. And I'm like, come on, just to give them at least a little bit of a reason. And they kind of do, but not really. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go. The moment you've been waiting for. Let's have a discussion that no one has ever had in the history of Podcast Hunter. Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild? Go on, I'll let you start. You're the Zelda expert.
I sure am. So, yeah, discussing this in this particular context is fun because, Breath of the Wild is pretty handily the more important one for the system. I still like Tears of the Kingdom more as a game. I enjoyed just all of the extra stuff they added onto it, and the adventure they took me on was pretty delightful. I'll be remembering that last bit of final gameplay until I'm dead, probably.
Yeah,
among other things. That's just the easiest one to jump to.
You see, it's interesting, right? And I would love to, if we ever have the opportunity, to have a spare fucking 200 hours at some point to replay both of these.
Both back to back.
Just have a discussion on them, because obviously it's like I talk with a lot of reverence with Breath of the Wild, but also what you've got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is I haven't probably played Breath of the Wild since 2018, 2019, whenever I finished up the Champion's Ballad.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. I think the way I see it, I love both of these games. I think both of these games are fantastic. I literally, when I'm sitting, we're talking here where it's like, we've got like a Metacritic of like 98 and a 97 or something like that on the Ethan scale of where these games kind of lie, right? It's like, if we didn't impose bullshit rules of like on myself, where it's like, I like to keep one game per franchise, or, in my like top 5 favorite games of all time, right? If I didn't,
it becomes way too annoying to like I am with you on that. It becomes way too annoying to like micromanage which entries in a series go over other entries from different series. Like, it's way easier to just say Devil May Cry is my favorite, and then Metal Gear Solid is my next favorite, rather than going, well, Devil May Cry 1 is my favorite, but then Metal Gear Solid 3 I like more than Devil May Cry 3, and all of that.
I'm the same way. I usually put these in the same slot, where it's like my favorite game of all time is Persona 5 Royal, and then after that it's probably Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I put them in the same spot just because it's like, it feels stupid to go, well, number 2 is Breath of the Wild, number 4 is Tears of the Kingdom, or whatever, vice versa. It just kind of feels pointless in that conversation. They're both very near and dear to my heart. I think they're both great. The thing that I'll always go back to, and it's always the old faithful of this argument, which is like, I feel like this is where we almost differ, I think, in opinion, is, to me, nothing will beat that original experience of Breath of the Wild, of going into that world with no knowledge, no expectations, only hearing that people are saying this game is incredible, and I've never properly, other than Wind Waker, I hadn't played a 3D Zelda properly before, especially not one on launch. So to go in on launch, to play Breath of the Wild, and to just kind of have that experience was something that was magical, that I know that it doesn't matter really what, like, I'm never going to have an experience like that again. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to the next evolution of Zelda, because people will sit there and they'll go, well, up until Breath of the Wild, we'd never have a Breath of the Wild. You don't know what the next Zelda will be. That might be as equally magical. I'm like, no, but I'll have that expectation. I didn't have a history with Zelda. You know what I mean? I didn't have that expectation of having, a really cherished game for me. So it's like playing Breath of the Wild. I went in with absolutely zero expectations. If anything, I went in onto thinking I might hate it, just because Wind Waker, I was like, it's fine, but I didn't love it. And to have that magical experience, just to have that open world, that sandbox, that play space, and just, it was like being a kid. It was having conversations with people, right? It was having conversations being like, oh, have you found this over here? And it's like, did you know there was a Lionel that's just sitting there? And if you go there at night, like, it's just like having those conversations with people. It was like those playground conversations where it's like, there was a solid month where we didn't know everything about that game. There was no wikis, there was no nothing. You didn't realize, you didn't know how many shrines there were in the game. You didn't know this and that. And it's just like, there was a real magic to it. And Tears of the Kingdom is fantastic. It is better in gameplay in every way. But it's still like, that sound, that original kind of thing that Breath of the Wild did, everything that Breath of the Wild did, it's like, yes, it's like, what is it? Do you give it to the OG or do you give it to the one that is, a couple of points higher, but is standing on the footsteps, like you're standing on the shoulders of giants? It's hard, right? It's really difficult.
It's one of those things. The thing about it with me, I think, is that, the older I get, the more impressive it becomes when I think that games in any description can capture a level of magic. Since, the older I get, the more kind of jaded you become and blah, blah, blah.
I hate everybody.
So, like, yeah, exactly. So, I had that feeling, Breath of the Wild had the magic that I felt like, Ocarina of Time did when I was a kid. And then, Tears of the Kingdom, I felt the magic in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly the same kind of way, but there are so many things about it where I was sitting there like, oh, I didn't know, or I knew places in the world now, but I didn't know what was going to wait for me there. That kind of, I was like, oh, I can't wait to go check out what's over here this time, see what they're going to do to me. Like, Eventide Island didn't steal all of my stuff this time, but also when I went back to the Great Plateau, I was being talked to by the evil ghost of,
Oh, I forgot about that. Scared the shit out
yeah.
of me, dude.
Yeah, I was being talked to by the evil
hell.
ghost of the Super Po. And
the worst part of that was I played when I was there. It was nighttime in the game, and it was 3 a.m. at night when I was playing it. I fucking closed the game down. I was like, that's enough of this game for the night, dude. Like, no. And I 100% get you. I 100% agree with you. But then I also sit there, and my only criticism with Tears of the Kingdom, actually I have two criticisms with Tears of the Kingdom. One is that it copies the crib sheet from Breath of the Wild in the memories. It has the same thing, but the difference is I feel like the memories in Breath of the Wild are a lot better managed, because every little piece of the puzzle you get, it doesn't matter which one of the memories you get in Breath of the Wild, it's not going to ruin everything. There is a way in Tears of the Kingdom that if you manage to just pick that as your first memory that you get, it reveals the fucking twist. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess that's that. And it's just like,
yeah,
I wish that they
first, but I'd get it early.
You see, it was the last one I got. I had the perfect kind of run up to it.
Yeah. And while I think that they should have just done it in a way that, they should
didn't matter which one you snapped, it just played them in the order.
Played them in the order. I do think that getting the one early kind of created this different dynamic where it was this specter of inevitability, where I was sitting there like, oh man, I hope this is wrong.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
so it's like,
and then when you finally get like the one for having all of them, it's like, Well, I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do the side quest where it asks me to kill 3 Hinox now.
Yeah. So there's that, which is like a little nitpick. The main thing that I did, the main criticism I have for Tears of the Kingdom really is, and this is Nintendo through and through, but it's, I wish I felt like Breath of the Wild mattered more. And what I mean by that is, you're talking about, oh, I hope this is here and this is, but it's like, we're sitting there and we're grasping at straws. We're reading Zelda's diary in the house that we own, and we're going, this is it, guys. This is what we need. Like, everyone's under a mic. It's like, the amount of times you go somewhere and no one even, like, says, oh, hey, Link.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Everyone's forgotten who you are. At most, you're the bodyguard for Princess Zelda. No one remembers that you went around and helped every single town in the fucking kingdom like 10 years ago, or even not even that. And it's just like, there's a part of me that just sits there, and it's like, I understand. I understand, guys. We want this to be an experience that's enjoyed by first-time players and returning players alike. But there's a difference between making it accessible to everybody and making me feel like I'm sitting there and I'm talking to a character who, in my playthrough of Breath of the Wild, I spent a lot of time in, what was the town called that you built yourself? Was it Tarry Town? Yeah. I spent a lot of time in Tarry Town. I love Tarry Town. I kind of made it my home in game. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you make a certain place your home, that's what I did. Where it's like, okay, I live here now. I don't technically live here now, but I live here now. I have moved in. This is my house.
Before you go back to save your game before you turn it off and load
Legit,
up the next time.
If I was to pick my Switch 2 up right now and I were to boot into my Breath of the Wild save, I can guarantee you for a fact I'll be in Tarry Town. That's exactly it. So then when I go, oh, I can't wait to go back to Tarry Town, and absolutely everybody pretends that I don't exist, I sit there and I'm like, can't help but feel disappointed. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit of disappointment there. I'm like, I put so many hours into Tarry Town. I tried my hardest.
You know, it's funny because for years in the fans of Zelda games joke about how Link never gets any respect. Like before Breath of the Wild, even it's like, oh, he gets like a pat on the back for saving the world, whatever, and you actually get to live it this time is very funny. But yeah, I understand what you mean there. I do think one thing that I enjoyed as far as what Tears of the Kingdom did was the things that were happening, to these places this time. Felt like there was more urgency about them than just kind of, oh, Varuta's standing over there menacingly and it's raining too much in the fish place.
Yeah.
Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, you got the Rito dealing with like the super blizzard or whatever it was that was ruining their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a solid job of that.
I agree with you. I like the urgency of it. I think there's definitely something to that. It's it's like, it's how you feel on a given day. Because there's also the bit that I also loved about Breath of the Wild was how I never felt pressured that I had to go and do something. I never felt a sense of it. So it's like,
oh yeah,
fair,
I never felt pressured by any
champions,
of that either.
all these champions are fucking dead anyway, mate. I don't care. I'll get to their ghost eventually. I'm gonna go piss about and see what's over there, over yonder.
I didn't do a dungeon in Tears of the Kingdom, I think, until I had been playing it for a week by then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's how I play those games as well. But again, I think it literally is. It's just how you feel on the day. How do you feel? I feel like people can say, "Hey, I'm a Tears of the King." Same here. I think that what we've learned from this discussion is you're more of a Tears of the Kingdom person. I'm more of a Breath of the Wild person. But when we're saying this, we're literally talking about a 0.00001% difference of opinion here, because we're both also in agreement that the other one is equally fantastic. It's just, it's just like, how do you feel on the day?
Yeah, both some of the best games of all time,
The only reason I'm slightly willing to hand you Tears of the Kingdom here, Hunter, is because Breath of the Wild also came out on the Wii U. So that's the only way that I can almost give you the tip of the hat of the fold here of, you could also technically play it on Wii U.
It's
you did.
True Zelda on Switch experience, yeah.
That's how
the
have
Wii
your
U
cake
never
and
got
eat
its own true Zelda.
Yeah. But they're both fantastic games. They're both generation defining games. And, it's that next Zelda game, mate.
Oh, man.
It's gonna be a hard one. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be all, curmudgeon of video games these days. They're terrible. They're never going to do it again. Because I have utmost faith that the team that made Tears of the Kingdom can make
Yeah,
another
it's one of
fantastic
those
Zelda
things
game.
where it'd be like, I feel like they're never gonna do it again argument doesn't hold water when they literally did it again the time before.
Yeah. I agree. But also, it's not going to be it's going to be an uphill battle to convince people, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, you'll have your you'll have your diehards that are there day one, money in hand, off we go. I'll be there as well. But, it's going to be an interesting time for them. They're going to have a lot to live up to. There's going to be a lot of anticipation there. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's on the level anymore of a Twilight Princess to Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's on the level anymore where it's like, Zelda fans were annoyed. There were some people like Hunter that loved Skyward Sword, obviously, but
Yeah.
the Zelda fans were annoyed. If in any way there was a step down in quality, let's say as an example, it'd be like like Zelda, Zelda before these two was it was a popular in Nintendo fan base, but it was a smaller IP compared to like Mario and Pokemon
Yeah,
and
like
everything else.
before Breath of the Wild, it was always funny when you'd see like the gold editions of Nintendo systems because like I wasn't seeing nearly as many Mario things like that.
Well,
and
that's because it was like Zelda's like the hardcore franchise. Like that's the
yeah,
diehard Nintendo franchise where it's like every casual was playing Animal Crossing and Mario and Pokemon, right?
yeah.
But I'm willing to give you Tears of the Kingdom just on the asterisk of
The technicality. You
technical
love to see it.
technically it is the only Switch exclusive Zelda game on the list. Now, if we had Echoes of Echoes here, it'd be a different
Echoes
story.
of Wackos. Yeah.
But I mean, we've done a lot of talking here, Hunter, and it's always anticlimactic. We said like everything we could possibly say about both of these video games.
Yeah, that is always the issue. When you get this far is
and you get an hour and a half deep into a podcast. Hopefully, I don't delete the recording again this time.
yeah, hopefully. That'd
A
be
man can dream.
dire this time.
I trip over and lose the recording as we wrap up.
Oops, I hit the explode podcast button.
I mean, I think the funny thing about this is, we're talking here, we're saying it is the Kingdom versus Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And this is legitimately, as we sit here on the 15th of, or 14th, depending on time dependency, of March 2026, we're recording this. I'm not joking when I say that this is literally number 2 versus number 3 on my top 5 video games of all time, right here. Like, that's what we're sitting here and discussing, right? Which just goes to show how incredible the Switch is as a system. That
Yeah.
2 of its exclusives are in my top 3 games of all time, right?
And before one of them, and yeah,
and it was number 1 beforehand.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild was number 1 before I played Persona 5. I played Persona 5 late. So, yeah. I think both these games are great. I think Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom is the quintessential best Nintendo Switch game.
Yeah, it's the one that's, Zelda itself, I feel like Breath of the Wild being so good at launch with the Switch is what set the pace for it in a way.
It brought Nintendo back.
Yeah. Like if they didn't have that at launch, or if it wasn't as good as it was, that people would be like, oh, Wii U too.
It set the footing. And yeah, you may have had games like Mario Odyssey and Smash Bros. And Splatoon and, everything else, Pokemon, that has sold better than, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But the fact that, Zelda, a franchise that, like I said, was hardcore, fans loved it. The biggest Nintendo fans absolutely adored it. But Mario would almost trounce it in sales every single time, it would be literally 2 to 3 times more sales of a Mario game compared to a Zelda game. The fact that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have managed to sell as many units as they have, like nearly 30 million units apiece, I think. Bloody hell. Considering the last the previous highest was something like, 8 or 10. Maybe not even that. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers that way, but
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah, mental. I mean, that's the thing about the Switch is everyone was willing to give games a try. The fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sold something ridiculous like 9 or 10 million units. A JRPG that's extremely niche selling like 10 million units is
That
mental.
The fans of the series don't seem to like as much as the other one at the time, you
well,
know?
it's a game that within a franchise is like there's a war that is still going on to this day, you know? It's still, you know, it's one of those rare games that lives in the annals of its franchise history where there are still people at war to this day on whether they like it or not, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, fair play. Anyway. Oh shit, I deleted. Oh shit, I deleted. that. There we go. Tears of the Kingdom. Congratulations, you are the best Switch game of all time.
Really
Forevermore.
breaking new ground there.
Can you believe it, guys? No one. It took an hour and a half to get to this point. Something I could have told you at the start of the podcast.
Yeah.
We should have worked our way back from this. We should have gone, okay, what's second or third, and then work our way back to what's
That'd
the
be a
worst.
funny way to do this. Start it with the winner and then just work backwards, like what was fighting it. Yeah.
Hear me out. Instead of like this, putting them against each other like this, we should go from like best to worst, and we should like order them in like stacks. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you've got like number 1, and then you go like 2, 3. We'll call it like a structured point list or something. It'll be. I think it's a big thing. I think we've got money in the making.
Layer stack.
Layer stack. That's a great name for it, dude. I think that'll catch on. But let us know, guys. Were we wrong? Were we right? Let us know in the comments below. Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been your 6th season of the HGO podcast. Wrapping it up, Hunter. How do you feel? 6 years. How do you feel about that?
Oh man.
Links are on screen.
Where does the time go?
Yeah,
it's one of those things, right, where it feels insane that it's been this long, but I also feel like I've lived 7 lifetimes.
Yes and no.
In this amount of time, you know? It's like thinking back to games like Resident Evil 3 Remake and being like, oh, yeah, that was a podcast game.
That's the thing that's scary, is it now it does get to the point where you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, when we started this, the PS5 didn't exist. You know, when we started this, it was like, you know, Doom Eternal had come out. That was the thing that like started this, and it's like we've had a Doom game that was late since then. Like, you know, it's like it was only 2 years. It was like what? It was 4 years between Doom and Doom Eternal, and then it's like another 4-year cycle, 5 years. It's mental. Time's crazy. But yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, and it's you know, it's weird. This is the longest project I've ever worked on.
Yeah.
And definitely continuously. The fact that we haven't missed a week in 6 years. There are 52 episodes of each season, and we haven't missed an episode. And they're all there, and you can go back and you can look at it, and it's, you know, I don't think we've changed that much. I think if you were to go and watch the first episode, I think it was episode 20 was the first episode with webcams that we did. And, you know, you look back at it and you're like, gosh, that was a lifetime ago, but also can't be that far like away. We still, you know, it's.
I still have hair down to my chest, and my jacket is still red.
I still have hair, so I'm counting that as a W. You know,
yeah.
Not too washed yet, but you know, your webcam's got a bit higher quality. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, to be fair, the first webcam episode I wasn't really prepared for. It was just kind of, we decided to do that, and I was like, oh, I gotta buy a new one now, or I gotta buy one that isn't, you know, built into the laptop.
Hold me to it. Okay. Do we believe him? Well, the episode 21 was the one. you weren't even on that one, so it'll be whatever one it was. But yeah, it's it's been a wild one. It's been you know it's been a crazy couple of years. Thank you ever so much if you are. Whether you've been listening for the one episode or you've, been in and out for 6 years, that's a long stretch of time. And although I cannot promise you another 6 years, I can promise you that we will be back next week to at least do one more. I can promise you that. Try and make it a good one, I guess. We're gonna just do one episode.
Just keep building them up like it's the last one next week.
I was jokingly gonna be like the last episode of Hot Gamers Only ? The end.
Yeah.
But no, we're still gonna be around for a little while yet. And we hope you join us on these new ventures as we continue forth. I mean, going forward, things aren't really.
I've already
changing.
Got the taste of free stuff at least once a year. I can't go back.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to know, if you've been listening for this long, I guess you're in you're inside baseball territory at this point, right? It's like what to expect with season 7. Not too much different, really. We're gonna try and do more topics, try and be a bit more free of the news cycle as we try to just do more stuff that we enjoy. I think that's the kind of thing we want to go with the podcast, is that have that reviews and stuff can chase the algorithm. The podcast is just where we have a bit of fun. We still try and make something that people want to watch, but have a bit of fun.
Yeah. I think what I've started doing since coming back for the year already has been looking at what's coming out and then trying to theme at least the episode before around that.
Yeah, so we're trying to, almost celebrate the games we like. We did the Resident Evil retrospective before the first impressions. Next week we've got a Life is Strange based topic coming up before Life is Strange. We're going to try and continue to do those, make more kind of game related episodes when new games are coming out, see how that goes. You may see a couple of branding changes next week. Do not be alarmed. Nothing is changing. We've been calling the show the HGO podcast for the past 5 seasons, really.
Yeah.
And so we're just going with HGO on a lot of stuff, on a lot of channels. So it'll either be HGO or HGO official or whatever it needs to be. This show stemmed from an inside joke. Hot Gamers Only has been an inside joke. That was what it was. It was an inside joke between me and Sam, who hasn't been on a podcast episode in probably about 4 years. And so as we try and do more reviews and try and be a tiny bit more professional when it comes to doing stuff like that, we're starting to, just go by HGO. Hot Games Only is something that we've thought about drifting into and seeing how it works. Same show, same people. We just Cal's still here. He's in the background. He's running around. He's writing articles. He's coming in whenever we're not chatting about Life is Strange, which is probably another month or 2 at this rate.
Yeah.
But just a couple of changes here and there. You'll see new review stuff. You'll see more reviews, more topical podcasts, more fun, hopefully. Who knows? Maybe a couple more guests. We say that every year, but we never seem to do it. And I think it's mainly just because I don't like messaging people. Why don't people come to me and say, I want to be on the podcast, Hunter? Why doesn't that happen?
Yeah, just get people kicking down our door for our 600 subscriber podcast. Let me talk to you.
Make it 700. Subscribe right now. And if you're on podcast services, thank you so much. Nothing is changing on podcasts. You'll still be able to get everything on the same podcast feed. Nothing is changing. You do not need to follow a new feed. You will be here. Names might change. The podcast feed will still be the same podcast feed. Expect more spoiler casts this year. We're going to do more. We're going to do one for Life is Strange. We're going to hopefully try and be a bit more productive with those as we go through the year. There is stuff like Saros. There'll be stuff like Wolverine. There'll be plenty of games to do spoiler casts on this
last year, the problem was mostly that besides Death Stranding and there wasn't a whole lot of narrative games to bounce off.
Death Stranding and Expedition.
Which we didn't do one for. Yeah.
But we'll try and do more. Those will all be bonuses on the podcast feed. Kyle's been dabbling with articles. We might be dabbling with more smaller first impressions videos and stuff like that. And my kind of promise to you on podcast feeds, if it is entertaining from an audio based perspective, if we do first impressions that aren't on the podcast and stuff like that, I will put them on the podcast feed as an audio only version, so you can watch it or listen to it or do whatever you want with it. Because if we're just going to talk, we'll talk, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And the last thing I can promise you is shorter episodes, because my God, I'm getting old, Hunter. 3-hour episodes. Remember when we did that? 3-hour episodes.
Oh my God. Do you remember
we
that?
We nearly did one like 3 weeks ago.
The spoiler cast for Rebirth.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we've got probably a part 3 of that this season, haven't we?
Yeah. Hit an entire work day's worth of
that will be the last episode of the HGO podcast. It'll be about 15 hours long, and I'll probably drop dead at the end of it because I'll just talk too much. But
show got canceled before Kingdom Hearts 4 came out. R.I.P.
He died doing what he loved, yapping about Cloud for the 17th time. But yeah, if you have any suggestions about stuff that you'd like us to do, then please do leave it in the comment section down below. I will enable comments on this podcast version, so if you have any suggestions, hey, leave them. We get those a couple of times every so often, and every time I forget something. Yeah, drop a topic. What do you want to see? What don't you want to see? What reviews do you want to see? What reviews don't you want to see? Hey, yeah, are there any small topics that you sit there and you go, hey, this is not necessarily a podcast idea, but I really want to, hear about 7 open world games that Ethan doesn't hate. And I'm like, cool, I'll make a small video about that. You got Godspeed, kid. I'll do whatever you want. Give us some ideas. Drop them. I don't mind. That's the thing, is Cal's out there writing his little articles and stuff like that. I can't do that. I can't just sit there and write that. I write that, Hunter, and then that turns into a video. You know what I mean? That's what happens.
Yeah, that's the way I think about these extra things, is their final form is video for me. Like that.
And maybe that means more videos, but also I don't want to bite too much. More short form stuff as well. If you have TikTok brain, if you have got ADHD, you're not still here because it's an hour and 46 minutes into a podcast. But Godspeed, we might make some content for that. Mainly just because I personally don't care about that kind of stuff, but I like the challenge of trying to convey a review in a short period of time, and I liked the 2 that we did. So maybe we shall do some more. But hey. Anyway, that's it. Hot Gamers Only is dead. Long live HGO, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I will put the links on screen again right now. Double dip. Go and follow us on Twitter or Blue Sky if you like. Please write your memorials in the comment section down below. We will be back next week for the final episode. No. To new things, to new and better things, to a tier list next week and a first impressions the week after, ladies and gentlemen. It's still the same show. It's still the same show. We're removing a single letter from the name of the channel, guys. That's it. That's go home. And then we'll put it back like 6 months later. Anyway.
Imagine if all 590 people demanded that the letter come back.
I only subscribed because I was a hot gamer, bro. No. Don't give a crap about games. I've just been sitting here waiting for the hot gamers to show up. 300 episodes in, you're still going to be waiting. Anyway. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week, or for the past 6 years, or somewhere in between. We'll be back, same time, same place, next week for a brand new season of the HGO podcast. But until then, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon. And yeah, have an awesome week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.